Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to my channel and welcome to my live session where we will be creating a beautiful birthday card using this new Let's Eat Cake stencil and die set combo. Now, this is part of the Sizzix 25th birthday celebration, and this beautiful set is designed by Catherine Pooler Designs. And I absolutely love the florals on this stencil set, and I can't wait to create cards. Well, I actually created one card using this and I was in love with the overall design. That's why I decided, let's just come on a live and create something even more prettier. Now, this is the card that I created. I used the stencil to create my cake. I added some floral images from the die and I created this absolutely stunning little card. I also have some glitter on my cake, so we will be using the stencil and some of the floral images for our card today. I'm not creating the cake, but I will be creating a beautiful stenciled background. Now, I will just take out the stencil and the die set from the packaging and show you how beautiful this set is. And well, so this is a two-part stencil. Okay, it's stuck to the packaging. Okay. So this is a two-part stencil. The first one, which will create all those beautiful flowers that you see here. And then the second one has the leaves and the flower centers and little hearts on it. So we will be using both these stencils today to create a background. And for my dies, now I love that this die comes in the packaging. The magnet sheet is not included. The dies were just in the packaging, and I just like to store them in this little magnet so that everything stays in place and it's easy to, figure out what pieces are there. Now I will be using the florals and the HBD, that is Happy Birthday die, to create our focal point. So we will first be creating our background and then we will be adding some beautiful die cut images. And the main thing that I would want to talk about is when we create this beautiful stenciled background, you see how busy the background is. So it's very easy for these dainty letters to get lost in that background. So I'll be showing you how I like to add either sentiments or little focal point images to busy backgrounds, or how I can tone down busy backgrounds. So we will do that in today's video. First, let's get started with our flower. The stenciled background. So now, if you know about Sizzix, you will know that all of the stencils come with these little notches. That's because it is compatible with the Sizzix stamping platform. Now, the Sizzix stamping platform has so it's a lot bigger than my other stamping platforms. So that's why I probably didn't get the judgment of how big the flap would be. Okay, so we have, now this is a sticky surface. It's a low tax stick, not as strong as your ultra sticky matte would be. But well, I have used it well enough and this is definitely seen better days. So I definitely need to get a new mat for this one, but we'll work with it. Now, these notches on the stencil fit perfectly with the notches here. Now, there is an attachment that comes with it. Let me just bring that out. So it's this attachment. So what you do is you can just pop out the lid, and so wherever you want to position your stencil. Okay. So this is how you just pop it in, and then you can just position your stencil anywhere on the pad. But I generally don't use this unless I have a bigger image or I am, inking up the entire background. So for me, this works. So I just line my panel with this. So I just place it on this little guy. So what I'm going to do is I will start with layer number one, which is these beautiful florals. And I have a panel here that measures 4 by 5¼ inches. Now this is slightly smaller than your standard A2 size card base. This is my A2 size card base, so I will get a beautiful border around it. So I am going to place this right over here. Now I know this is where the center is because I've used this so many times that, like, I probably know, okay, this is the center. But if your pad is completely new, what I like to do is I just like to place this slightly on the center of my mat, and then we can just reposition this in place. So it's almost like you place it along with the stencil. So that is one way of doing it, but I just like to place it here so I know where my stencil will go. I'll just, before I press it down firmly, I'll just make sure all of the edges are getting that beautiful stencil image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just firmly press this down. Now, like I mentioned, this is a very low tack sticky surface. It's not going to rip your paper when you try to remove it apart, but this, I just like to firmly press it down, and we will start ink blending on our flowers. Now for today's card, I was contemplating on what colors or what color combination should I go for. In this one, I went in for my absolute favorite, pink and orange, and I think for this one also I'll stick to that color combination, or maybe yellow and pink, and I wanted something pink on my card, so probably I'll stick to this particular color combination itself. I will go with pinks and oranges. Now to color in my stenciled image, I'm using the Positively saturated inks. So these are by Simon's Stamp, and I am using Rose and Cantaloupe to add color to my background or on all of my flowers. Now, if you see, there are flower centers on stencil number 2, which are either the circular design or we have these little star shapes. So all of those, again, I'll be using pinks and oranges, but in a little darker tone. I'll show that to you once we go to our stencil number 2. Now for stencil number 1, I want my flowers to have partial pink and partial orange, which means if you take a look at this design, this, say this particular flower, this has a little bit of pink and a little bit of orange. Same here, we have pink and orange. So I want that two-tone design on all of my flowers. So for that, what I'm going to do is I will start with orange. So I'm starting with cantaloupe, and I will lightly ink blend that. Now I have, let's move this a little more towards side, and so this is my ink pad I'm using, and I like to place it on this Positively Everything tool, so it just holds the ink pad in place and does not, the ink pad will not slide around. So okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am, instead of coloring in the entire flower, I will add just partial color to all of the flowers. It's okay if some of the flowers get all of that orange. It's totally fine. We can fix that with some of the pink. So I will add color to all the flowers, but not completely coloring the flowers. So I have a little white space on each of those flowers. And I am not going very heavy handed with this one. That's because my flower centers are going to be the same exact color as these ones. So this is layer number 1 with orange. And other color combination that I would love to try is maybe blue and yellow, or even blues and teals, I think would look absolutely stunning. If you have any favorite color combination, just let me know in the description box below. I would, sorry, in the comment section below. I would really love to know what you guys like. Or if, well, reading your comments, I come across a new color combination which would, you know, turn out to be my absolute favorite, why not? So, well, so that was layer number one. I covered most of the flowers with my orange cantaloupe ink. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just bring a microfiber cloth. I'm not going to clean this with water or, I'll just wipe down that excess orange. The only reason I'm doing this is so that my brush does not get contaminated with the pink brush does not get contaminated with the orange ink. Now, if you are using a very high pigmented ink, you would definitely have to go and clean your stencil first. Now, that's the reason I didn't use pink first, because pink is a little more pigmented than cantaloupe. And I also recently inked up my ink pad, so this is really nice and juicy. So I don't want that extra ink to, spoil or contaminate my orange blending brush. Okay. Now with the pink, what I'm going to do is, again, just like I did with my orange flowers, I'm going to partially add color on all of these flowers as well. So there'll be a transition of pink and orange on each of those flowers. So very lightly, again, I'm not using a heavy hand here. I'm going to very lightly add color to all of these flowers, making sure each of those flowers have a little bit of pink and orange. Now, again, there's no specific way of doing this. Only make sure like each of those flowers have both the colors. Now, it does not have to exactly be half and half. You can, you know, some of the flowers will have more of that pink, some will have less. So that really depends on how you like your flowers to be. So this is one technique I love doing when I'm like, in mood for some mixing colors or having a beautiful color combination. Now, this technique would also be absolutely stunning if you plan on creating a rainbow colored background. So I think that will look absolutely amazing on rainbow colors as well. So now you see here, I have a little extra concentration of that pink. I'm not very worried about it. I am okay with that additional concentration. But if you do not like having more color, what I prefer doing is I will just take I will just take some ink and then dab it on my ink pad and then bring it to the panel. Or another way to do it is just take some ink, dab it on the empty space of your stencil because it's more of that plasticky material. So it'll just take that and then just blend your ink blending brush in very soft circular motions. So we are almost done with layer number one. I'll just make sure that all of my flowers have all the pinks and oranges. We go. So that is layer number one, and I'm pretty satisfied with the colors here. I'll just put my pads back. I don't want. All right. Now I will take off this stencil and just take a look at that. Now, this is absolutely stunning all by itself. You can just add a little birthday sentiment on this open space and call it done. You could also, like, just any sentiment would work here. I absolutely love how beautiful this turned out. And looking at the transition between the colors, I can definitely see myself using this particular technique and this particular stencil to create a beautiful rainbow colored design. Okay, now moving on to stencil number 2. Now this will perfectly line up if your panel hasn't moved or if you've not, taken it out. If it stays in place, this will perfectly line up with stencil number 2. So I will just take this down or just firmly hold it in place. Now what my plan is, for all of these circular openings, I will add a darker shade of pink, and for all these star-like openings, I will add orange. And the rest, we have some leaves, which will be multiple shades of greens. And then we have a few hearts on the stencil. So here we'll do a little bit of masking so that we don't get color on places where we don't need. So I took cantaloupe and rose for the base layer. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go one shade darker on each of these colors. So for my circles, I'm going to go with cherry, and for the stars or these little flower centers, I'm going to go with sherbet, which is the darker shade of cantaloupe. Okay, so I will, just like we did it with our flowers, I'll start with sherbet. Looks like someone's at the front door. I hope my husband is around to see who that is. Okay, so well, sorry if you guys are getting disturbed with that, but yeah. So let me go with my uh, star shaped. Okay, so here I go. So now for masking, what I like to do is just add, say, little post-it notes, but since this is a smaller ink blending brush that I'm using, I am okay with it. There we go. Add. All right. I think I pretty much got all of the star-like images here. A little bit on this one. If you think like, if you've missed any, all you have to do is just lift the stencil and see if everything has like those images. And looks like all of the flowers got it in. So I will put it back, and like always, this is going to align perfectly with our stencil. So next I'm going to bring in some of that beautiful cherry ink, and I am going to use that on my circles. These are the little flower centers. So a darker color would make it pop a little. Now, if you do not have a shade darker, you can use the same exact pink and oranges that you used for layer number 1. All you have to do is, add a little more extra elbow grease to your images, and then add a little more extra pressure and use the same color. That'll give beautiful results because our first layer was very lightly ink blended. Okay, so that's it. All right. Now I'm going to add color to our leaves. Now for our leaves, I will take 2 sets of greens. I have field, which is a beautiful bright green, and I will do Asian. Usually I do field and pine, but this time I was just in mood for Asian. So, all right, let's just try that. And so for this one, I might do a little bit of masking, and again, I don't want to contaminate my blending brush. So what I'm going to do is this time I'll just pick this apart and just move this out for a minute right there, and I will spray my stencil and just wipe off that ink, because I don't want that, the cherry ink is really pigmented and I don't want any of that red pigment on my green blending brush, because the field shade is quite light. So I don't want my blending brush to get contaminated with that red ink. Okay, so I will bring back my platform and I will place the stencil back in place, and this one lines up perfectly because I have not moved my panel. So now we'll do field. Now for this one we might require a little bit of masking. Let's see how that goes. And what I'm going to do is I will first add field to all of the leaves that I see here. So I will just hold this little post-it note on, so there's a little heart here. I'll just hold that in place. There. Again, I will just hold my post-it note in place so that it does not contaminate the rest of the open areas on the stencil. Right there. You could definitely go ahead and put little, post-it notes or masking tapes on each of the other images, but then I find this is a lot more easier and does not take a lot of time. So let me just cover this little guy up. Again, covering the little heart over there. I'm just using one ink for now on all of the leaves and the foliage, and we will bring the darker shade again to add a little depth on each of those leaves. There we go. Okay, so that's most of the leaves that's on the foliage. Okay, I think I missed one over here. Let me just cover that little heart there. All right, perfect. Now what I'm going to do is, again, I will just lightly wipe off all the excess ink on the stencil and then bring my darker shade of green. So again, I'm using a smaller brush for this, and this time instead of going all over the leaf, I'm just going to add a little bit of that on the edges just to give that two-tone effect on the leaves. I'll do that for all of the leaves, and you'll see how beautiful it looks once I remove the stencil. It just deepens up our foliage. So usually my go-to color combination is field and pine, but I really wanted to try this particular color combination. So, and I'm absolutely loving how this turned out. I'll show you the difference actually between using uh, pine and Asian. So you can see that when I say that I am really loving this new color combination. And I see myself using this a lot more than adding pine with field. Now, in some places where it's not possible to have that circular motion, what I like to do is just grab some ink and just, flicker that ink instead of going in circular motion. So I'll just flicker it around so that I know that I have ink on all places wherever I need them. Okay. Now, one last thing to do before I take out the stencil is add ink to these little hearts. So again, I'll just clean up my stencil, especially near the hearts, so that I don't get any green on my pink brush. And for that, I'm going to use Taffy, which is again a beautiful shade of pink. So the pinks that I've used so far are rose, which was for our flowers. Then I used cherry, which was for the flower center. And now I have taffy, which is for the hearts. Okay. So again, I am not going to go circular here. I'll just add some color in some flickering motions, making sure I don't get any of that pink in the adjacent areas. Now this one is a little too close. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to cover this. There's just some leftover post-it note that I had. And I'll just cover it on all sides. Hold that in place. And then we can add our color. Perfect. I just have one more little heart over here. I'll just make sure before I lift off the stencil, I'll just make sure I have color everywhere. And I've not missed any of those areas. Okay. Now that's our absolutely gorgeous image. Now the ink definitely looks a lot brighter right now. It will definitely tone down, uh, once it has had the chance to settle down into the paper. Okay, now in my ultra sticky mat, what I usually do is I just bend the mat, but this is one drawback or something that I don't enjoy about this stamp, this particular stamp platform, is that I have to peel my paper instead of folding my sticky mat. It's just personal preference. I'm so used to using the ultra sticky mat and folding it out so that my panel comes out easily, but this one kind of is a little, what do you say, it feels a little unusual because it's, well, definitely not my style of doing things. So not the way I do things. Okay, so I will keep this aside, and so here is actually the leftover from this particular piece. So I just wanted to show you the difference between using field and Asian and using field and pine. So there's a very subtle difference, but I like the depth that Asian is giving to my panel. Now it's the exact same colors that I used on both the panels, except for Asian, which is new here. I used pine on this. But you see that this looks a lot darker right now as compared to this one. So that's why I said, don't worry, this will settle down. The color will soften a bit once it has time to, settle into the paper. Now, Here, what I did was on all of the flower centers and the hearts. Here, you can see it on this piece. So here on all of the flower centers and the hearts, I used glitter paste. So this is the paste that I use. This is stencil paste, the fairy dust stencil paste by Lawn Fawn. But since we are doing a live, and usually when I use a stencil paste or any kind of pastes on my card, I like to give it. I know it sometimes it just takes around say 10 to 15 minutes, but for just peace of mind, I like to give it a full hour or two to settle down and completely dry before I go in and add something extra. So this time for this particular card, I'm not using that glitter paste. I'll just leave it as is, but I'm sure it'll turn out absolutely beautiful even without the glitter. Okay, now what I plan on doing is I want to turn this into a birthday card. So the easiest way would be add a sentiment, a birthday sentiment, and just like this, a black sentiment would work. And it kind of, it's not as bad, like since it's black, it will show up on this beautiful cut front. But I want to show you now, this is a busy background, and if I were to use the thin happy birthday, just these alphabets, so I went ahead and actually die cut them. So I have happy birthday right there. Now, when I add this to the busy background, it kind of looks lost on the background. So the very easiest way to tone down your background or make your sentiments or any little focal points that you want to add on your card pop is by using a sheet of vellum. So here I have cut a piece of vellum. Now this one is 1.5 inches thick, so that is perfect for our sentiment. So now if you see, this looks a lot better. Just to give you an idea, both side by side. So here is what it would look like without the vellum, and this is what it would look like with the vellum. So you not only have had that additional uh, vellum band which tones down your background, but will also help pop up the sentiment. Okay, now before I add the sentiment, I wanted to add some more floral images around my happy birthday. I'm not sure how that'll look in that busy background, but let's just give it a try. And if it doesn't look good, I'll just end up having the happy birthday as is. Or even better, I'll just add this little sentiment strip. Okay. This is again from one of the older Catherine Pooler designs. I'm not sure which stamp set that was. But yeah, this is again by Sizzix, and I just cut a label, a banner die. This is one of those dies which had a hot air balloon on it. So, well, now for the flowers, what I'm going to do is off camera, I went ahead and die cut a bunch of these flowers from the die set. So I cut both these flowers and flower centers using these two little dies. And I also cut out some leaves. So I cut out everything using white cardstock. So we will ink it up. And I'm using the same exact colors that I used for my background. So I'll just keep my background here so I know what colors I'm going to use. So again, just like we did with, and well, if you want to see an example, this is an example of how it would look like. So basically what my plan is to have my sentiment strip somewhere in the center, just like that. Now, let me just tell you that my lives are usually not planned. Like, I would not recreate this card. So, this is just me making a card for the very first time with you guys. So, that's why I kind of like, take it a little slow and in deciding if just the HBD is good or should I add some flowers around it. So, whichever will look good, we will do that. So let's see. So this is a white flower. Will a white flower look good around it, or will a colorful flower look good around it? Let's go in for some color. And even if we decide not to use those flowers, it's absolutely no problem, because then we can save it for another project. Okay, we'll carefully remove this out, and then I will go ahead and ink up my flowers. I will keep the flower center white as you see here. So I have the same pinks, and I will go with rose and cantaloupe. Where did I put my cantaloupe ink? Okay, found it. Let me know, does this happen to you guys? Okay, my dad says white will look good. Okay, let's see. Uh, Maybe white with a beautiful flower center. Let's try that. What do you think? So, okay, so I'll just go ahead and bring my panel. And I'll just place this right here with the happy birthday. There. And if I were to place these flowers here, and this is the colorful flower, well, I think, yeah, I think the white flower would look good. I think we can just color in the flower center instead. So instead of adding color to our flower, I will just add some color to the flower centers. Okay. So we will add 3 flowers, not 4. And let's see how that looks. And we will color in our leaves. We'll add the same Aegean and field to the leaves. Okay. So I will set this aside. And let's start coloring. So on this panel, all our circles are in cherry, and all the flower centers are in sherbet. So I think I will use the same exact color for this one as well. So I will start with sherbet on this little guy here. And then I'll use my pink blending brush with cherry on these small little images. Sorry, die cuts. That looks good. Okay, now for our leaves, I'll leave the flowers as is. I'll just set them aside. Again, like we did with our leaves here, I will use field and Asian, but this time I'll go a little heavy handed because I want these leaves to pop on this. So let's add these shades, but a little more darker. So again, I will start with field. I'm definitely going a little heavy handed. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. Let's try that. And then we will bring in our agent, which is that darker green. So here again, I'm just adding some flickering motions and not, going circular so that I get that really organic blend. Okay. Now I'll let the inks settle a bit before I add these on the white because I don't want to get the pink or the orange on my white flowers. Until then, what I'm going to do is I have die cut the happy birthday thrice. So I went ahead and die cut these letters or alphabets thrice. So we'll just stack them up for some dimension. So what I'm going to do is I will start with the H, and I like to use my Barely Art glue, especially for things like these because it's so delicate. You could definitely use those double-sided sticky tapes or even spray adhesive for this one, but I find liquid glue is a lot more easier for me because that gives me a little bit of wiggle room to, hold everything in place and make sure all the layers align perfectly. Now, for sentiments like this, now this is very delicate, so I would definitely not be comfortable adding foam tape behind this delicate little sentiment. Okay, there we go with the edge. Just make sure it's properly stacked on one another so that it doesn't move and look messy. There is my B. Another way to do it is hold it with your reverse tweezers. Hey Olfa, thank you for joining. Long time. So I used to do Saturday late night crafting, but that was like really late for me by the time I would wind down and have all the links up and everything done. It would be almost 2 a.m. my time, and that was kind of not working out. So, yeah, now I plan on doing this every Sunday around 3:30 Pacific time because that's also the time my little one is sleeping. So the house is almost, I would say, almost quiet. I just had someone knock on the front door, and well, everyone else in the house is also sleeping, so probably even they didn't notice that, but then that's fine. So I think this time is really good for me, and I'm hoping that people are able to join because late night crafting, like 10:30 my time, is almost midnight and beyond midnight for everyone else. So I'm in Seattle, so that's Pacific time for me. But yeah, unless you are in my time zone, it's not as late. So I think this time is good. All right. So that's it. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to bring my the flowers, and we will add our flower centers. I did get a little bit of ink there on this flower, but that's all right. We can just hide it with some other image. Okay. So now let's just pick these little guys up and we can add it to our flower centers. I absolutely love white flowers. I think they look beautiful. Oh, you are fine, Alpha. I think so. Yeah, I mean, I kind of try to have a fixed time, like 3:30 is what I said, but then it's just that today I my little one went to sleep a little late, so I just want to make sure he's fully asleep before I start crafting. So that's the reason we got a little late today. So yeah. And oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. I know late night crafting can be super late. So I'm really hoping this time works for everyone. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys watching it. Okay, so now I'm using the little orange one for now. So I know Ulfa, you joined late. So all I did was ink blended my panel using the new Let's Cake It stencil from Sizzix. Now this is part of their birthday collection. So I just stencil this image. Now this is a two-part stencil. So I mean, yeah, you can catch it on the replay, but just a quick update. So this is a two-part stencil. The first stencil has all the flowers, and the second one has the leaves and the flower centers. So that is what I did. So now all we have to do is add our sentiment and these little flowers and a little bit of embellishment. Now, I will usually when I add my sentiments, hey Dan, thank you for joining. So usually when I add my sentiments, I do not center it. Like I would either add it on the lower half of my card or on the upper half. So I usually never center my sentiments. So again, this one, I will go on the lower half of my card. So how I like to place my little vellum sheet is I will just turn my panel upside down and make sure it's straight. What I like to do is, let me just move these things aside. Thank you, Alpha. I mean, yeah, I didn't want to you to miss out on anything. So yeah, that was a quick explanation, but then if you watch the replay, you will see the whole thing, and I hope that'll help. But happy to help. Okay, so somewhere here is where I'm going to place my sentiment. So I just like to line that up with my glass mat. I'll hold it with the magnets in place. And then what I'm going to do is I will just fold this panel. Again, I'll hold one magnet here and I'll just add some double-sided tape. So I am adding, scissors. There you go. Now it's times like these when things are kept right in front of me and I can see it, but I can't see it. So yeah. So I usually just add some double-sided tape on the vellum and close it. So this doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure it's in a straight line. And then I can trim off the excess or leave it as is. No one's going to know what's behind this. So I will do the same on this side as well. I will add a little bit of foam tape. Sorry, double-sided tape to seal this. You could even use liquid glue, but with vellum, I like to stick with double-sided tape because I have seen glue usually, warps the panel, which is something I don't like. So I will just go ahead and close this, and that's it. So I'm not adding any glue here, and you'll see there's a lot of gap. I have not like stretched out the panel. So we have Sean. Okay, I hope I'm spelling that out right. So you've used such beautiful colors. Thank you so much. So this is my absolute favorite color combination, and I thought I would get over the pinks and oranges, but clearly I have not, and I'm glad I didn't. I really love this color combination. So yeah, vellum is one. So now this is just like a belly band that I put for my cards. You could also, now this panel measures 4 by 5 1/4 inch. Now, if I wanted to cover like the entire panel, I would just trim a piece of vellum slightly smaller than this, or die cut it using say a rectangle die or a circular die, and just create like a vellum backing for my focal points or my sentiments. Now, before I adhere this onto this, I want to add some little bit of sparkle on my sentiments. So for that, what I'm going to do is I am going to just take my glitter brush pen and add some ink, uh, add some sparkle to this. So I wouldn't do it after sticking on the vellum, because just in case, like, hand slips, it just goes there. So you can see that on the vellum. So I generally don't do that. So there we go. And this glitter pen does not take a long time to dry. So it's okay to, like, by the time you're done with the third alphabet, your first alphabet is completely dry. Now, if you want to add a little bit of dimension on these, what you can do is add glossy accents and sprinkle them with glitter. But well, if I wasn't doing a live session, and if I had overnight time to, like, let everything dry, I think I would do that, because that also gives a beautiful effect. So there we go. So I either use glossy accents and glitter, or just plain glue with glitter also looks fine. And the glitter that I usually use is the Tim Holtz Rock Candy. Now, this is that fine glitter. There are two types, the fine one and the bigger chunky glitter. I usually use the fine one. I don't have the chunky glitter. So, yeah. Okay, now hopefully this has dried up. So before sticking everything down, I'll just see how this looks and if I really need those flowers. So, okay, there we go. So now here I have a little boo-boo there. So I will try to hide it behind my edge, and nobody's gonna know. So there we go with flower number 1. And then we have this little guy which can overlap on the edge. So another way to do it is you can overlap your focal point images with your sentiment. Now, in this case, we have a little die cut sentiment, but say if I were to use a sentiment banner, what I would do is just tuck this under a flower. So that way you don't see that sharp edge there. So, well, okay, let's just add this here. So first I will go ahead and add my flower, since I know this is where it'll go. And I also have my leaves. Let's see how that looks. So this is how it look. I know it's a little lost in all of the design behind, but I will still add it because yes, on paper, like in picture, it may not look as popping out of the card, but then when you give it to somebody, you can see it. Like I can see it here, it looks beautiful there. So right, like this, I might even pop it up so that it looks a little better. But yeah, you can do that or completely skip it, either way. But I'm really glad I went with a white flower, and this is how it would look if I had a colorful flower. I think this gets a little lost, so I'm really happy with the white flowers. So, okay. So first I will go ahead and now since I'm sticking on vellum, I will go really light on my glue. I'm not adding a lot of glue. So very tiny drops of glue to go on the vellum. And I will make sure my flower is sticking only to the vellum and not to the card. I don't want the vellum to stick on the card. So this is where I will adhere and I won't press it down. At this point, I'm not pressing it down because I don't want any of that glue to squish out of the card, out of the die cut piece. And now since I know this is in place, I can go ahead and adhere my edge. Mm, I am looking for my reverse tweezers. Here it is. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. I really appreciate you like the color. What are the other color combinations that you guys do? Like, I know orange and pink is my go-to color. Do you guys have any color combinations that you can't do without? Let's hide that little boo-boo there. So nobody will know that we messed up with that flower. And there. So even when I lift this up, you see it's not touching the panel. So that way it gets a little bit of pop. Ooh, pink, purple. Do you like purple with pink or purple with any other colors? Okay, so let's do with I want to try purple and blue. I have purple and yellow and pink. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Now before I stick my D right there, what I want to do is add a little flower under this just to give like a diagonal approach. Now this one, what I'm going to do is I am going to overlap the flower. So it's okay if the flower, is under the D completely. I am absolutely fine with that. So again, adding the slightest bit of glue and adhering in place. This is where my D comes. There you go. And then finally for the D, yeah, purple violet looks really good. There. Okay. Now, for my be it the focal point or be it my sequences, I usually like to go in odd numbers. So that's why I have 3 leaves. Now, again, I have two flowers here. So I will be introducing another flower because I really like the odd numbers. I don't usually go for even, number combinations. And even if I do, I would just scatter it here and there. I wouldn't like, cluster them together. So if not this, I would, now I wouldn't go here because it's like, it doesn't give a good visual appearance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tiny little flower and I will just pop him here. And this one, I will add a little bit of foam tape. So I will pop this little guy over vellum. This I feel gives a beautiful dimension to our card. There. Now we can tuck in our little leaves and see how that looks. This is where, I mean, not necessary I will add it, but let's just see how it looks there. If I don't like it there, I might just, okay, we don't need it. And one which goes right there. I'm not sticking anything down yet. So let's just see. Something like this. For this one, I'll just go ahead and trim it a little. Just make it a little smaller and tuck it under this little guy. Again, the slightest bit of glue. You don't want a lot of glue, especially on delicate pieces like these. You don't want any of that glue showing through. So I'll just tuck it in there. And for this one also, I think I'll just trim a little so that my leaves can be tucked in perfectly. There we go. Now for this one, you can see that part of the leaf is going to come out of the vellum. I'm not going to add any glue there. I will just add glue on the base of the leaf. Right there. Because just like we did with our flowers, I don't want the leaves sticking to the panel. I'll just tuck it in right there. And this little guy, again, I'll just cut it out. There. That'll fit in perfectly. So I'll just tuck this little guy in place and hold it there. I think that's it. So I know you cannot see the leaves in the background, but then like I can see it here. It looks good. And I will just go ahead and add the slightest bit of shimmer on the leaves just to make it pop. Not a lot. Now this I should have done earlier before assembling it down, but I'll just try to be as careful as I can so that I don't get glitter on the vellum. Now this one, I'll just tuck this in. That makes it a lot more easier. And a little bit of glitter on this guy. So I have these two flowers. I can save it for a future project. Now all that's left to do is add this onto a card base. Now for that, I'll be using some foam tape. Now you can trim off this excess flap over here, but I'll just leave it as is. I'm not too worried about it. What I'm going to do is I will place foam tape so that will cover the vellum, and then nothing is going to, move or shift. That's about it. Then my foam tape is a little thicker, so I'll just cut it out. Get a little thin before I add it here. There you go. I know this is not the right way to do it, but I am not able to find my sheet where I can hold this in place. That's why it got a little messy. No worries, and trim off some of that excess. So I just made sure the side that I cut is on the inside, and whatever you see out from here is the smoother surface. Okay, now that's done. I will go ahead and mount this onto a card panel. So that's it, guys. I don't think I'll be adding any sequin mix on this because there's a lot going on and I don't want to add a lot of sparkle. But I'm not sure if the camera is picking that up. The leaves and the happy birthday is has a lot of sparkle on it. So I'm really liking that. So I don't think I'll add any more glitter or sequin mix on this. So that's it, guys. Our card for today is ready, and I really enjoyed working on this project. And this is another project that I created using the same exact background, but we created a card, and I used the same colors. Here, I used a little more darker tone on my flowers, and well, I absolutely love this card also. So please do take a look at this product by Sizzix. This is part of their 25th birthday collection, and I'm absolutely in love with this. And I will definitely be creating more cards and, yes, more color combinations using purples and yellows and pinks. And I really look forward to that. And I will be linking all the supplies that I used, including all the colors that I used, down in the description box below. Please know that all of those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. So before I sign out, these are the colors that I used. Displace these. So for the greens, I have Asian and Field. And for this card, instead of Field, I used Pine. So these are the greens that I usually go in for with my foliage. And for the pinks and the oranges, I used cherry and rose for my flowers, and cantaloupe and sherbet for the other part of the flower. So we have flowers with pink and orange. So this is the pink and orange that I used. And the hearts you see here are that is using taffy. So this is the color combination that I used. And don't forget the glitter that I used here is the Lawn Fawn Fairy Dust stencil paste. So thank you again for joining me today, and hopefully I see you guys again on next Sunday around 3:30 Pacific time. Bye. Thank you.